What we got here is a 5 Series Toyota, an FBCU25, so 5,000 pounder. And the complaint from the customer is that it would drive in reverse, but it wouldn't go forward. But not just that, whenever you go forward, once you hear the contactor kicks in, it would code out C0. And I think there's another code. So let's try it out. Key on. So no codes there. All right. And we release the parking brake. Try to go in reverse. All right. And so right now I have the wheel. So it's going in reverse. All right. Put it in neutral again, and then we put it in forward. All right. Put it in forward. There you go. Wheels. Let's try to drive. Put in forward. I'm not driving. Okay, and then you heard the contactor kick out, and it's coding out C0 right now. Until I drop to neutral again, code goes away. So we have a problem moving forward. So I am not going to doubt the motor. I'm not going to doubt the cables to the motor, because it's using the same motor, right? And it's using the same cable. So if I'm able to drive in reverse, then that means the motor's fine. Now, maybe there's a mechanical problem with the motor, bearing or whatever it does. It's not able to move forward, but I doubt it. But let's test that out anyway. I'm gonna key up. It's connected to the differential, so I have it jacked up right now. So if there was a problem with the motor, and there's no clutch in this, so if I'm able to move the wheels in the forward motion, then I'm pretty sure that there's no mechanical problem on this truck as far as it going in forward. So now we're gonna go to the back and see what we can find. All right, so we're in the back. So this is your reverse contactor, this is your forward contactor, and this is the main board that controls both contactors. All right, so let's start with key on. Okay, so there's already something abnormal at key on, and in neutral, the reverse contactor already kicked in. Okay, try to drive in reverse. Okay. Try to drive in reverse. And of course it's going. Alright, neutral again. Is that neutral? Okay, neutral, try to go forward. Okay, try to drive. Okay, that's the code right now. Code CO, right? Okay, that whole time, the reverse contactor never kicked out. Alright, neutral again. So it goes away again. So we know that the reverse contactor is always kicked in. How about key off? Okay, key off is the only time that the reverse contactor disengages. Alright, so we know that it's being controlled by this computer. So the only question for me now, is it the computer that's doing this? Or is there a short in the wire or whatever? But that's what we're gonna have to figure out next. Okay, so what we have here is the schematic for the truck that we were working on. And here we have the forward contactor, reverse contactor, and this is the control circuit, and this would be the contacts or the load side, the forward and the reverse contactors. Let me erase this for a while. So what is being shown on this schematic is when it's turned off, or at neutral at least. So when we key on, we know that power or positive voltage is going to be supplied from the computer, from here to the MG, MF, MFR contactors. But no negative should be provided by the computer to any of those contactors just quite yet, as long as we are in neutral. So what is happening to our truck right now is that when we key on, our reverse contactor kicks in right away, and so it becomes this. So when we key on and we're still at neutral, it does not code out because the computer is not looking for any signal from the current sensor or the CST. At least that's what I think, and that's why it thinks everything is normal. When we try to go in reverse, what happens is, because the reverse contactor is already engaged, when we try to drive or step on the accelerator pedal, what happens is the MG contactor now closes like this. And so current now is going to come from battery. It's going to go through the MG, through the current sensor, which is CST, through the armature circuit of the motor, up to here, through the forward contactor, and then through the field winding, and into our main drive transistor, which is going to be pulsing to control the speed. And so everything works right because the sensor now is providing signal to the computer that current is passing through the motor. So what happens now when we go to neutral, erase this for a while, the MG contactor is going to kick out again. Oh, sorry about that. MG is going to kick out, current is going to disappear, but our reverse contactor is still engaged. So now what happens if we try to go forward? Of course, the forward contactor now is going to be energized and the contact will engage. When we start to drive, our MG contactor now again is going to close and make contact. Positive voltage now is again going to go through the MG contactor, through the armature circuit, but that is as far as it's gonna go. It will not be able to go through the field circuit because it's open here and it's also open here. So it goes out CO when we try to drive on the forward because the current sensor is not able to provide any signal to our main computer. At least that's the theory in my mind, and how we are only seeing the code CO when we try to drive on the forward direction. Now, the only way that the reverse contactor is going to operate all the time after key on is if there is a negative right here on the reverse contactor. Now, the question for me is that negative now being provided by the computer itself, this computer, or is that negative coming from somewhere else, maybe a wire, a negative wire touching the control wire, or the negative wire that's supposed to be coming from the computer? So that is what we're going to test next. It's possible that the driver inside the computer is already shorted, because I know that inside here is going to be another transistor. That doesn't look like a transistor at all. Let's try to make it better. I know inside there's going to be a transistor. That's going to provide a negative to that. So basically a driver that provides a negative to that contactor. It's possible that this driver is already shorted, but it's also possible that the program or the chip that provides a base signal to this driver or transistor has malfunctioned or been corrupted or whatever. But the only thing I have to figure out is it going to be in the wiring or is it going to be in the board? And that is what we're going to try to do. Okay, next. So I've set my meter to measure continuity. Right now I'm hooked up my black lead to the negative. Let's see if we have a good connection. So beeper function works. So this is my connector for my forward and this is for my reverse. So the question is, we know that the positive is always being supplied and it's common to all contactors. So it is the negative that's being controlled by the computer. So if I test out on the forward, so this part is my control. So I got no continuity to my negative. But on the reverse, my control is going to be the brown wire. Okay, so it's the one on the top. So if I test right here, right? So there is a negative, there is continuity from the control wire to the negative. And since we have a positive, a common positive, positive is always supplied to the contactors. And if I get a negative, then that would make the contactor engage. So now the question now is there a short to the negative on the wiring or is it on the computer? So I know that this connector, this brown wire, is the control wire for the reverse contactor. So what I'm going to do is we're going to plug it in again to the connector right here. Going to put it in the back so we don't drop it. Stick. Okay, so that's on the connector. The beeper is on. There's a continuity between that and the negative. So now to figure out if it's going to be in the wiring or is it going to be on the computer, in the computer itself, I'm going to unplug this. And it's an open now. So that's telling me that the negative is not within the wiring. There's no short in the wiring. So basically it's in here in the board. So my doubt is that the driver, one of these transistors, whichever one is responsible for the reverse contactor, is already shorted. So right now I'm looking at replacing this board, and that's what we're gonna do next. Alright, so now we have a different board. This board actually came from another truck, but it's 3,000 pounder, but it should work the same as far as the contactors are concerned. But I'm not gonna keep this board in here. I'm still gonna order the original board, which is for a 4,000 pounder, but for now it should work. Okay, key on. Okay, so main difference with key on is none of the contactors engage, even for the reverse. Okay, let's try to go forward now. Okay, that's a forward contactor. No codes? No codes. Okay, try to drive. Okay. Drive again. Okay, so now you got the forward, back, no codes. Go back to neutral. That's reverse. That's reverse. Go to neutral. Is that neutral? Okay, so that's neutral. Kick back out. So that proves that the problem for this truck is the board. So all that is left right now is to replace that board, and this can be considered as a fix.